If you're familiar with the Zero Escape game series, or if you're familiar with Spike Chunsoft in general, you've probably heard of the Somnium Files. At the very least, you probably knew someone on Twitter who wouldn't shut up about it. That's me, I'm that person. The Somnium Files is easily one of my favorite games of 2019, and probably one of my favorite games of all time. It is a mystery visual novel / adventure game hybrid that follows the life of Kaname Date, an investigator who works for a secret branch of the Tokyo Police Department called Abyss, or
Advanced Brain Investigation Squad.
Date is suave, he's confident, he's got an artificially intelligent eyeball for a partner, and he would do anything, literally anything, for a pair of women's panties. Used, new, soiled, Date does not discriminate.
Wine and underwear are best when aged.
He's also suffering from amnesia and has no recollection of anything that happened to him prior to 6 years ago. Basically, Date was found stumbling around the streets of Tokyo 6 years ago, and now he works for a secret branch of the government. Shit, if that's all it takes for a little job security, then someone should come and whack me over the head with a 2x4 right now! DM me, I'll text you my address. The game opens up on an abandoned theme park where Date and his boss, who is so aptly named Boss, are investigating the brutal and graphic murder of Shoko Nadami. Someone Date has personal ties to. Someone whose murder looks strikingly similar to a string of serial killings that happened 6 years ago. 6 years ago. I feel like there was something significant about that time frame. Nope, can't remember. Anyways, I'm sure it's not important. If this is enough to intrigue you, then please pause this video and go play the Somnium Files. Then when you're finished, please come back. Your watch time validates me. While investigating the crime scene, we discover a young girl named Mizuki hiding in the center of the carousel holding a bloody ice pick. I should probably also mention that Mizuki is Shoko's daughter, and Date's like her legal guardian, without the legal part, nor the guardian part. Basically, she's a 12-year-old roommate who eats his food and doesn't pay rent. It's a bit of a weird relationship to navigate, but long story short, Mizuki's parents are not fit for parenthood, so Date takes care of her. Unlucky her. Needless to say, the entire event has left Mizuki traumatized, and so she is suffering from aphonia, meaning that she's lost the ability to speak. In order to clear her name and glean more information about Shoko's murder, Date must perform what is called a sync. Alright, with me so far? Great. Things are gonna get a little anime here, but before I go into further detail about syncing, let me tell you a little bit about the gameplay. The Somnium Files has 3 major types of gameplay. There's the visual novel style gameplay that occurs throughout the initial investigation and story moments. We can chat with the characters we meet along our investigation to get their alibis, as well as some world development, character growth, and plot. Then we have the point and click types of segments. When Date is at a crime scene, we can click on items to find clues and evidence. We can also use Aiba's X-ray function to uncover items that other people can't see, like a hidden cell phone in a ceramic horse, or the teen idol figurine this Yakuza leader has stashed away in his office. Dude. And third, we have what is called syncing, which is essentially the puzzle-solving portion of the gameplay. At times throughout the game, you will have suspects or witnesses in your custody. Often, these people have information pertaining to your investigation that they are either unable or unwilling to share with you. In order to uncover the information you require, you must perform a sync with the uncooperative person. To sync with someone, you have to strap them into a large machine and connect the informant's brain with Date's brain through needles or tubes or radiation or something vaguely scientific. Very cool, slightly unethical, probably illegal, but hey, we're detectives, not lawyers. That's a different game. Once Date is connected to the informant's brain, his partner Aiba will enter what is known as their somnium, their dream world. When inside, Aiba must navigate the informant's weird fever dream and break their mental locks by solving puzzles, like a trippy escape room. With the mental locks broken, Date can find the crucial information that the informant has either repressed or hidden. Date may only stay inside an informant's somnium for a total of 6 minutes, however, as staying too long in a person's head can have dire consequences. Brain damage, insanity, developing a taste for human flesh, who knows what might actually happen? Regardless, Date will not be sticking around to find out. Now, 6 minutes is not a whole lot of time in the normal world, however, time moves differently differently when you're inside someone's brain. As long as you stand still in the somnium, time will move at a crawl, allowing you to assess your surroundings and calculate your moves. This is quite good for us because everything you interact with in someone's somnium will cost you time. The amounts vary depending on what you're interacting with and how you choose to interact with it. Some interactions will also grant you something called a timey. Dumb name, useful tool. Timies can be used to decrease the amount of time it takes to interact with an object. Sometimes it's advantageous to interact with an object simply to collect the timey it possesses, regardless of whether or not it is the right selection for the puzzle. Timies can be saved and used at your leisure, allowing you to strategize their use, but you can only keep 3 at one time. Also, some of them are mystery timies, and some of them add time onto your actions, so try and avoid those wherever possible. If you fail a somnium, you can start from any of the mental locks you've previously completed, and because the puzzles don't change, you can get back to where you were fairly quickly. So, circling back to Mizuki, who's all messed up because her psycho mom is murdered, the best way to help her is by finding out what information she knows about the crime. To the sink machine! For Mizuki's somnium, as well as many others, there are multiple ways to break the mental locks and continue the story. In Mizuki's case, you can either choose the correct lock and help Mizuki recover her voice and start the grieving process, or you can choose the wrong lock and Mizuki will continue to suffer from aphonia and really resent you for it. How you choose to solve a somnium affects how you uncover the story in your playthrough. Allow me to introduce you to the flow chart, or the time chart as they call it in the Somnium Files. That's right, friends, this game involves multiverses. No matter which path you choose, at some point you will hit a wall and will no longer be able to continue without the information gathered from another timeline. This means that in order to progress the story, you will have to hop around the timelines and choose paths that you hadn't ventured before. To ease some potential confusion, every time you hop to a different timeline, you have the option to read the case file, which is a summary of everything that has happened to lead up to the current moment in time. Information that you gain from one pathway will carry over to all the other pathways. So when you find all the information that you need, you can hop around the timeline to progress until you get the proper ending. So you've made it this far into the video, but you still aren't quite compelled to play the game yet. You say to yourself, of all the visual novels out there, why should I play this one? For starters, the Somnium Files is possibly the most polished visual novel I have ever played. Instead of the usual static imagery, the cutscenes are fully animated. When Date gives Iris a piggyback ride because she's unwell, you actually see him carry her. When Mizuki beats the crap out of some mercs at an abandoned warehouse, we get to see it in all its glory.
Seriously?
That's not to say static visual novels can't be good, but it is nice to see what's happening instead of just being told about it. The animation just provides a more immersive experience. Speaking of immersion, this game is all about it. The game menu itself is completely themed around that detective style. The options menu is stylized as a settings request form from Abyss. You fill in the appropriate checkboxes and submit your desired settings to head office to make your changes. The file menu, where you will find information on key phrases and characters, and an album of photos you've collected, is a shelf full of labeled binders, presumably in your office. These sections could have been basic menu screens, but I really admire the attention to detail and the creativity involved. It allows you to connect more deeply with your protagonist, almost like you're syncing with Konami Date yourself. Whoa. The file menu is optional. You could play through the entire game having never opened it and you would still get a complete experience. And honestly, 9 times out of 10, when there's an appendix of additional info in a game, I usually ignore it. But I found myself frequently checking in on this menu to read the new entries. The writing was witty and charming and had the perfect mix of cheek and detail. There is so much love poured into this game, and it really shows. The music was great and the voice actors were well cast. Lots of familiar names here, and they all did excellent work.
Oh, I love it! Bravo! 6 million yen to you!
There was also some great LGBTQ representation in this game. 2 main characters are a gay couple, and there's also a main character who's non-binary. I don't really see that too much in this genre, so I thought it was worth mentioning, and I thought it was pretty cool. One of the Somnium Files' biggest strengths is its pacing. This game leaves a beautifully consistent trail of breadcrumbs to keep the audience interested. I felt like I was given as many answers as I was questions, and I was never frustrated by weak responses or by people circling around the point to pad out the game time. I never felt like they were nailing me over the head with information either. I never felt patronized. And the story itself was enjoyable as well. You wanted to follow that trail of breadcrumbs because the writers created a compelling story filled with lovable characters and emotional moments. There was a beautiful mix of tense, serious, emotional, and humorous moments throughout the game. Although, I will say, having a horde of mercenaries be stopped in their tracks by a porno magazine, well, that's just plain unrealistic. It's 2020. Everybody has a cell phone. Just Google it. Why are you stopping for a magazine when you have Google on your phone? You don't need no paper titties. I also did experience some frame rate issues, especially towards the end of the game. However, I did play the Switch version, so that might be the reason why. I enjoyed every moment I spent playing the Somnium Files. I won't spoil the ending for you, but I will say that I personally thought it ended perfectly. It was a little unconventional, but it tied everything together nicely and it gave you a resolution. You weren't left wondering. Also, there's a dance number, and you get to learn it yourself when you beat the game. It's really hard. Curious? Want to know what all the fuss is all about? Play it. Give those lovely people your money so that we can get a sequel. And as always, thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, and I'll see you next time. Okay, I love you, bye!